Hello and welcome to The Ordinary Extraordinary. I'm your host, Jen Krensman. Now, The Ordinary Extraordinary is a show where we interview the ordinary people of Foxborough and help them share their extraordinary stories. Today's guest is the inspiration for this show. We have here Taylor Johnson, Teej from American Ninja Warrior. Welcome, Teej, to The Ordinary Extraordinary.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. It's going to be awesome.
I am as well. So why don't we just get right into it? So you are from Foxborough. You grew up here in Foxborough. You still live here in Foxborough. Now, can you tell us about your youth and growing up and your athletics and how it ended up leading you to American Ninja Warrior?
Yeah, definitely. So I've been in Foxborough for about 20 years, I want to say it was. Went to the Ahern Middle School, went to the Foxborough High School. I was a competitive cheerleader. I did track and field. I was voted most athletic for the class of 2012. And I still love being a part of Foxborough. I still attend the Friday night football games and see me always walking around town. And yeah, I love being from here and I'm really excited.
Wow, it's so great when you see somebody from Foxborough who grew up here end up having such extraordinary success. Now, you have competed from, as you said, cheerleading, and you went to college for
acrobatics and tumbling.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did you get into ninja?
So when I was in college, like I said, not American Ninja Warrior, acrobatics and tumbling, and I absolutely loved it, was super driven about it. I was a Division I All-American, and then after my 4 years, I was in grad school down in Connecticut, and I was very lost because my whole life I've been an athlete. I grew up as a gymnast, cheerleader, all that stuff, and when I finally retired, I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to work out in a gym by myself. I've always had a coach. So one of my friends actually happened to be going to a ninja gym nearby, and they asked me if I wanted to go, and I was like, yeah, sure, this sounds fun. And we went, and we just kind of went for fun. We were going weekly, and then over time, I ended up becoming obsessed with it and being like, hold on, like, I obsessively started watching the show, and then I was like, I think I can actually do this, and that was what hooked me.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can understand it. That's how my inspiration to watching you, I wish I could be more physical, but watching you on American Ninja Warrior, especially this past season, where you ended up as a finalist. Yep. So you've competed for 5 seasons on American Ninja Warrior. Now, can you talk about your experience actually on the show?
Yeah, so I have competed for the past 5 seasons. The first one was back in season 11, was down in Baltimore. So fun fact about the show, it typically airs overnight. So my very first season was right by the water in Baltimore, and I ran the course around probably 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, so that's always something that can be really tough. A lot of us ninjas will actually adjust our sleep schedules. We'll start like going to sleep at we'll kind of push it back like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, so that way your body can get used to being awake at that time. So that's something that's very different about the show that people wouldn't know. But that first season didn't go as I planned. And then season 12 happened, which is when COVID was. We were one of the only productions to actually happen in 2020, where a small group of us got flown to St. Louis, and we were in the dome out there, and that was my best season at that point, and I had made it to the semifinals. And then I was really excited to come back that next year because obviously during COVID I wasn't able to fully train, so I was kind of went in with low expectations. Yeah. And then for season 13, failed the 4th obstacle, didn't end up moving on unfortunately because it was a tough field that day. And then that was season 13. Season 14, I failed agility, which is something that I never typically fail. So I was really disappointed. So I had a bunch of years where I was like, I'm not living up to my potential. I kept getting hit with failure, and it was very hard because you're like, when do I keep doing this? People keep telling me oh, you're so good though, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but that season, that breakout season isn't happening. So going into season 15, this past season, I kind of went into it with a different mindset. It was actually something I had heard from a CrossFit athlete. Her name's Ariel Lowen. She actually was the third fittest in the CrossFit Games this year. It was Proverbs 21:31, and it talks about how the horse prepares for battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord. So for me, it was about putting in the work, just being ready. Whenever my time is going to come, it'll happen. All I'm going to keep doing, I'm going to focus on the process, and I'm going to focus on working hard. And I'm just really happy that this past season, season 15, that it actually was the one where it finally came together, because I was able to take all that pressure off and just focus on the process more than anything.
And now, you are shorter in stature. You're one of the shortest contestants ever to compete on American Ninja Warrior. You're 4 feet 11 inches. Do I have that right?
Yep, you do. It says it on the back.
Your hair's slightly in the way.
Back of the shirt here.
There we go. 4'11". You have Teej on the front. Now, how does your height take into effect how you compete on the show?
Yeah, so I actually have to think about things a little bit differently than other athletes do. So one of my inspirations was always Barclay Stockett, who's 5 feet tall, a good friend of mine. And I always was very impressed by her power and just her commitment and her attitude towards things. And that was something I tried to embody as well. Some things like another ninja might be able to just reach over and grab it, and I might not have that ability. I might have to throw myself and catch it. So I just have to train a little bit differently and think about things differently as well. And I'm a little bit lighter, so that is a benefit. Like there are some ninjas that are over 200 pounds, and obviously that's when you're on small ledges and stuff like that, that's gonna be harder for them. Whereas me, I have small little fingers and I weigh less. But usually there's those bigger power moves that they can kind of get through. So there's pros and cons to both.
Right, and now, so American Ninja Warrior, the landscape of actual competitions, it changes year to year and course to course, but they have the same themes. You know, you mentioned agility, and you have various things. So how do you end up trying to attack it differently? How do you mentioned that you had gone through it and you have to go at it differently, and you have to change your mindset to be like, you have to find your way to figure out how you are going to do it, right?
Yep.
And so with the different obstacles year to year, do you find that preparedness ever, changes, or how you have to mentally prepare changes?
So I actually have a really great analogy from my tumbling coach, Manny Bonilla, who actually passed away from cancer, unfortunately, back when I was in grad school. He was an amazing coach, and he had this toolbox that he would talk about. And he'd be like, you have your toolbox, and what you want to do is fill up your toolbox. You need a screw, a hammer, a wrench, whatever, all these different things. But if a tool will stay in there too long and you don't use it, it'll get rusty. So for acrobatics and tumbling, when it came to tumbling and things like that, like I would have different skills that I would be able to do. And sometimes you have to take them out to use them to make sure they don't get rusty. So I decided to apply that into ninja. So like you're saying, there's agility, there's upper body, there's lower body, there's the warped wall, there's the salmon ladder. You have all these so many different things. And you can even break it down into you have lateral throws, you have like 180 turns, you have like, there's so many different things that you can break down. So for me, I try and fill that toolbox so that way, because you're right, when we get there, you don't know what the course is gonna be. Every year it changes. When we're preparing, we don't know what obstacles they're gonna throw at us, but all we can do is fill that toolbox with as many things that we can think of, and on the day of, you take out your tools and you apply them to the course. And that's the best way that we kind of can explain that.
And in addition to like your shorter stature, you take inspiration from others. You seem to give out inspiration as well. So how have you built that toolbox? How have you built your own things that keep you going? How, like your own motivations, and how you end up giving it back out? Because it seems that you have a following as well for your just how you attack the Ninja Warrior course and how you seem to go about life. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, it's actually interesting because like you having a show that's about like ordinary, extraordinary people, like I think you can always find something from anyone that you talk to. There's always something that you can learn from someone. So for me, that's how I just get out there and I'm watching videos on YouTube. I ended up over time just becoming obsessed with watching CrossFit. Like I don't do CrossFit, but I love their mentality and how they attack things. So a lot of the times I'll catch myself watching them. And then I remember during COVID, obviously it was a very time of where people lacked a lot of motivation. So what I would do is I would be in the basement and I had set up some ninja things, which was just like literally a bar. I put up a little cliffhanger and I had some like bands and stuff to work with. And I would put on Wonder Woman and that would be playing while I was working out to like keep me motivated. Yeah. So I always just try and find different things to kind of keep me going, just trying to fill up the tank with as much gasoline as I can, and you can get that from anywhere. And I think you can find inspiration anywhere if you really look for it.
Yeah, you seem so put together in how you kind of go out and attack the course and how you hold yourself just as a regular everyday person. And I know that on the last season of the show, they went into more of your personal life and, you know, your history. And now you had talked about your mother and her own journey, and we don't have to get too much into that, but it also went into your work at Mass General Hospital and your everyday job, and you do ninja on the side, or it's just like they coexist somehow, like it's just like both kind of full-time, you know, things. Now, how exactly is just the inspiration from how your mother and how your family life has inspired you in your competition, into your daily life? And do you mind going into that a bit?
Yeah, so growing up, I was a very passionate kid. I was very passionate with gymnastics and everything that I did. And my family gave up a lot for me. Like they would be driving me an hour to go to the gym. My sister, when she first got her license, the first thing she was doing was driving me to the gym because I would have to go 6 days a week. Yeah. So we always joke about how that's basically how she learned how to drive. You know, my family has gone through a lot of hardship. I actually also had a brother who would have been in between me and my sister. And he was diagnosed with anencephaly, which is where the brain and skull don't fully develop. So he only lived for 3 hours. But he's always kind of looking over us, and we see him as an angel that's just in our family. And I would always, especially in college, like I used to play his song before I would compete and stuff like that. And it's just being able to find strength in what people would think would be weakness. So there's just so many things that can make you strong. Like my mom has dealt with so many different kinds of cancer, and people will always say, they're like, if you didn't know it, like you would have no idea, because she can always walk into a room, bring a big light. She has the loudest laugh in the room. And it's just a matter, I think that's where I find a lot of the strength from, because my mom does it. My whole family we're just strong through everything that we do. My dad works really hard, and he's always kind of he's doing everything he can to support us. So I just think as a cohesive family, like we've just learned how to be strong, and we're always just trying to be supportive of other people. And that's kind of how it's just been ingrained in my life ever since I can remember. Like, I remember it was, I think it was back in high school, like if I ever complained about something, my mom should hand us a straw, and she'd be like, here's a straw, and you'd be like, well, why? It's like, to suck it up. So, so it was always very joke, we're like, we're a tough family, but that's what's made me who I am today, and you could just show love and toughness at the same time, and yeah.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so understandable.
Yeah.
Clearly have gone through so much with your family and, you know, your own journey. I mean, with the competing and the not succeeding right away either, and, you know, having to just like keep going back, trying again, you have this, I mean, you made the toolbox metaphor, but I mean, it's kind of like a giant toolbox, it seems, that you've got here. And so with this giant toolbox that you have, what does the future look like for you? What does nowadays in the future, what does the future hold for Teej?
So right now I'm still working at Mass General as a financial analyst, and I absolutely love my job. I'm able to give back to those. It's a lot of cancer research, being able to help financially support people who are doing that. So I'm still very involved with things like that. I'm going to be on, again, in the future on American Ninja Warrior. I will definitely still be competing. I don't know when they will be aired yet, but there's a few specials out there that you might see me on as well. So we'll have to wait and see when that is.
We'll look out for you.
Yep.
Coming up,
Yeah.
Town of Foxborough, Taylor Johnson, Teej. Better look out.
I'm gonna keep doing it as long as I'm enjoying it and as much as I'm loving it. If I feel like I'm being called somewhere else, I'll change course, but I still love it. I love the community I'm a part of. Every day when I go to the gym, I just love the people that I train with and what I'm doing. Training at a Vitality Obstacle Fitness down in Fall River. I have one of the best coaches in the country, Jordan Thurston. I compete alongside so many other American Ninja Warrior competitors like Addie Herman, Noah Munier, who got 3rd place this past season, Kevin Rodriguez, Luke Dillon. Like, there's a whole crew of us down there, and we just all train so hard, and it's a blast. So why would you stop doing it when you're having fun?
I mean, it sounds like the best way to live and keep going and just keep striving for greatness and, kind of what you're meant to do, it seems. I don't know if you have that kind of mentality, but it seems to, fit from afar.
Yeah, and that was something where when I graduated college, I was very lost and didn't know what was gonna come next. So it wasn't like it came very naturally to me, like, when I'm done with college, I'm gonna do this, this, and this. Like, I didn't have, like, people were like, oh, well, are you gonna coach? Are you gonna open a gym? Are you gonna, like, what are you gonna do? And I'd be like, I don't know. But I actually I did a grad assistantship at Quinnipiac, and I did operations, I did academic support, I did compliance, I did a bunch of different things, and I loved all of them. They all were great in different ways, but I really loved compliance, which is very rare, which was ending up how I got into being a financial analyst, because this job is kind of more of the compliance side of the financial things. So yeah, you don't know until you try. Like, I never would have thought growing up that I would be liking compliance, but you got to put yourself out there and you got to try different things. That's the only way you're ever going to find out who you are.
Right. I mean, it seems that you've tried various things. In your youth, you went from sport to, you went full on, but you went sport and you had to transition to similar sports and everything, and you ended up here, Ninja. You're competing on NBC. You're competing in the big time shows and athletics, and it's such an inspiration to show you. It's to watch you, show you.
Thank you.
But it was so wonderful watching you this past season and seeing how far you go. I remember we kept, oh wait, is she on tonight?
Yep.
Is Teej on tonight? We got to make sure we watch tonight.
Aww,
so it's gotta support the town of Foxborough. Gotta support our fellow residents, our people, our because you're doing so much great work, and not just in the competing and stuff like that, but you just have such extraordinary qualities and such an interesting story that you're creating with your life. I mean, it's so inspiring.
Thank you.
I've got to say, and how you seem to attack it all. So,
and I got to say, I'm not perfect, and it's not easy. Like, I'm definitely a very ordinary person in the ways that I go through trials and triumphs, but they don't know, those aren't always shown. So things aren't always easy. Like, I've always gotten, like, my first season, I remember I was, like, losing my mind competing on the show for the first time. Like, it can be very anxiety-ridden, and there's a lot of ninjas that I know, especially young ones, that struggle with anxiety, and because I've gone through that, I've been able to, now when I see it, I recognize it, so I'll pull an athlete beside being like, hey, I can relate to you. Like, I've been in those shoes, and I try and talk them through it, and those are moments that are very important to me, because all that anxiety and all that stress that I used to go through, it feels like it was almost for a purpose, because now I know how to help other people. And it's weird now too, because now when I step onto the platform, when I compete on American Ninja Warrior, it's probably the calmest that I am. Like, it's a very weird feeling. It's like you would think that'd be like the most anxiety-ridden time. Now when I get up there, it's like my most calmest, it's like the most calm that I am, which that comes with practice. That's the thing. You can learn and grow in that and try and calm yourself down in situations, and eventually you work through it.
Wow. Really, I mean, it's the whole, nobody's perfect, but you just keep working on yourself. You keep working to improve however you can, whatever your walk of life, you just, it's gotta go with the flow.
Yep.
Gotta keep evolving and learning, and, you see that you can end up with, success, if you keep at it. And it's just, just wow. Just, I mean, it's so much. I mean, it's very impressive. Very impressive.
Thank you. And that's one of the things where it's like you're saying, like, you keep working. Like, I've been working and trying to get success. It's like, there's always something to strive for. And that was actually what was the original reason I got addicted to Ninja, was because there were obstacles, but there was always ways to make them harder. So I always knew that, like, okay, you can get a lache, which is when you throw yourself from one bar to another bar. You could do one 5 feet apart. You could do one 6 feet apart. You could do one 20 feet apart. Like, so it's like you could always be pushing your limit. And that's something that I find really cool, because you can look back and see how much you've grown. But you're also learning through failure. It's like, okay, like, I'm trying to get this like 10-foot lache, and like I can't get it. And then like after working for a while, you end up getting it. And then like a year later, you look back and you're like, oh, I can do that easy now. Being able to see that, like, through all that failure and through all those struggles that you put yourself through, look back at yourself and see where you are now. And it's a really cool way to kind of track your own progress and see yourself grow as a person.
Yeah, wow, very impressed. Someone with a lot of physical limitations. I'm so impressed with people who can, really do what you do. It's so cool. I mean, I think that's where the audience aspect of watching Ninja, it seems to come forth, because it's so just like, wow, like, look at them, they're climbing, there's a really tall rope. I don't remember how tall it is, but it's super tall. And it's the final thing. It's just, holy cow.
Yeah.
It's just, it's so much that you see yourself overcoming, and it's just, it's I don't know.
And that's what's really incredible. Cool too, is like, you can find things like that. Like, I know I gave like a big example as like things that people wouldn't be able to do. Like, so we have a family friend who passed away named Tara Dixon, who had MS. And she would kind of like struggle to even get into the car, or struggle to get into her house and stuff like that. And she had a really great sense of humor and was a great woman. And she used to kind of like throw herself into the car and like do little things. And she'd be like, look, I'm a ninja. And it was like, that was her battle. And that was her obstacle that she was overcoming. So even though it's something to us would be so simple, like you just go into the car, for her, like, that was her obstacle. And that was her getting into and doing that. Whereas like you can find it in those small ways. Like, everyone can find their own obstacles that they can work on overcoming. It can be anything from a physical aspect, or it can be a mental aspect. It could be the fear of becoming who you really can be. It can be trying to get a promotion in your job. It can be taking that risk and going into that new profession that you want to strive for. It's just a matter of taking that leap of faith and just going for it, because you're never going to know unless you try.
Spot on. Now, in our final few minutes, is there anything you want to say to inspire others, like, at all? It's any final message?
I mean, it would just be, don't give up and just keep trying as much as you can. Like, don't let failure defeat you. failure should never defeat you. Failure should show you where you can improve and how you can keep pushing on. There's always a lesson to be learned in everything you do. No matter how old you get, you will always have lessons to learn. And even as kids, like, if you try and do something and you can't get it, that doesn't mean that you're never going to be able to do it. Like, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and just push on. Just that's all that I've done, is just having perseverance. That's a really big thing, perseverance and commitment to anything that you want to do. Like, don't get lazy. Don't just be sitting around not doing anything. If you want something, go get it. No one's stopping you from doing that except for yourself.
I totally agree. Totally agree. All right. Thank you, Teej, so much for coming on to the Ordinary Extraordinary today. It's really been an enlightening conversation and a great first conversation here on this show. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm so excited to see the future of this show. I think it's such an incredible idea, and I'm just so excited to see all the other ordinary, extraordinary people.
All right. Thank you. All right. This is Jen Cranston and Taylor Johnson Teej from American Ninja Warrior. Thank you.